morning, everybody. I'm excited, and I hope you are too. One, it's a great day, and two, I just finished a buy, which I do every morning with a company called Success and You that I used to work for, and I did so many amazing events with, and that always energizes me and gets me into a really good mood. But now it's time for some reading before all the other work starts. The book that we were going to read that I only have in Chinese. That is so funny. And the book that we're actually reading, this one is called The Art of Thinking Clearly. And it is so important to be able to think clearly, especially in times like this when there is all sorts of different information on both sides, propaganda, all sorts of really fun stuff going on. So, really, really good. And there are messages coming in on the phone, which we're recording from. So that makes it a little bit challenging. Where are we up to? Let's have a look. We had a look at coincidence yesterday. Chapter 24. I can't believe we're already 24 chapters into this book. It's just really short stories, which makes it really good for reading. And today we're talking about the calamity of conformity. And it's interesting because I have been listening to Earl Nightingale, The Greatest Secret, The Strangest Secret. And he talks about conformity being one of the biggest challenges that we face to actually achieving our goals. So this is going to be a really good chapter. The calamity of conformity, groupthink. Here we go. Let's get into it. I am excited, and I hope you are too. Okay. Have you ever bitten your tongue in a meeting? Surely you sit there, say nothing, and nod along to proposals. After all, you don't want to be the eternal naysayer. Moreover, you might not be 100% sure why you disagree, whereas the others are unanimous, far from stupid. So you keep your mouth shut for another day. When everybody thinks and acts like this, groupthink is at work. This one is very powerful. I've seen it many, many times, and I've always fought against it, and it's always been really challenging, but it's important. It's important. This is where a group of smart people make reckless decisions because everybody aligns their opinions with the supposed consensus. The motions are passed that each individual group member would have rejected if no peer pressure had been involved. Groupthink is a special branch of social proof, a flaw that we discussed in chapter 4. So I'm going to tell you a very quick story because I remember groupthink when I was at university and we had to do a project. We had 2 nursing homes or 3 nursing homes. I can't remember how many there were. There were 2 or 3 or 4 nursing homes, and we had to combine the kitchens and create this amazing thing. And the group members decided, or one person decided, that they were going to have the elderly people exercise by walking to the kitchen to go and get their food and then walk back. Now, there are 2 issues with this. One, hygiene issues. When you walk back so slowly as most elderly people do in nursing homes, one, there's a chance that they might drop it. 2, it's going to be cold by the time they get back, and that's not good from a bacteria point of view. And there are so many other different things. And on top of that, these elderly people already have exercise time, so they don't need to walk to go and get the food and then create all of these hygiene issues. So I spoke up and I said, look, this is ridiculous. And what the group ended up doing was they kicked me out because everybody else in the group had locked onto that idea, and they didn't want to seem like the bad person. They didn't want to be the person that was going to contradict this smart person in the group. And the idea was just terrible. Anyhow, so I spoke up against it, and I got kicked out, and I had to defend the report by myself. I didn't manage to do it because it was so bad. I had to sit it a second time and manage to pass after that. But at least the most important lesson for me from that was to not follow groupthink. That was more important than actually passing the whole university, because I think that was a more valuable lesson to not just accept things blindly. And I've had this happen a couple of times in a couple of different places throughout my life where people have told me, you just need to accept what I'm telling you and be done with it. And I will never do that. If I disagree, I disagree. And I'm not going to follow a crowd or a herd just because they say so. I'm always going to critically think about it and figure out what is really going on behind the scenes. Okay, I am really loving this chapter because this one is great. In March 1960, the U.S. Secret Service began to mobilize anti-communist exiles from Cuba, most of them living in Miami, to use against Fidel Castro's regime. In January 1961, 2 days after taking office, President Kennedy was informed that the secret plan to invade Cuba 3 months later, a key meeting took place at the White House in which Kennedy and his advisors all voted in favor of the invasion. On 17th of April, 1961, a brigade of 1,400 exiled Cubans landed at the Bay of Pigs on Cuba's south coast with the help of the US Navy, the Air Force, and the CIA. So much firepower compared to what Cuba had going on at the time. The aim was to overthrow Castro's government. However, nothing went as planned. On the first day, not a single supply ship reached the coast. The Cuban Air Force sank the first two, and the next two turned around and fled back to the US. A day later, Castro's army completely surrounded the brigade. On the third day, the 1,200 survivors were taken into custody and sent to military prisons. Kennedy's invasion of the Bay of Pigs is regarded as one of the biggest flops in American foreign policy. That such an absurd plan was ever agreed upon, never mind put into action, is astounding. We think it's easy to see in hindsight, though. Just remember that. All of the assumptions that spoke in favor of invasion were erroneous. For example, Kennedy's team completely underestimated the strength of Cuba's Air Force. Also, it was expected that in an emergency, the brigade would be able to hide in the Escambray Mountains and carry out an underground war against Castro from there. A glance at the map shows that the refuge was 100 miles away from the Bays of Pigs, with an insurmountable swamp in between. Oops. And yet, Kennedy and his advisors were among the most intelligent people to ever run an American government. What went wrong between January and April of 1961? Psychology professor Irving Janis has studied many fiascos. He concluded that they share the same following pattern. Members of a close-knit group culminate team spirit by unconsciously building illusions. One of these fantasies is a belief in invincibility. If both our leader, in this case Kennedy, and the group are confident that the plan will work, then luck will be on our side. Next comes the illusion of unanimity. If the others are of the same opinion, any dissenting view must be wrong. That's where the problem really starts. No one wants to be the naysayer who destroys team unity. Finally, each person is happy to be part of the group. Expressing reservations could mean exclusion from it. Yes, I got kicked out of the group for speaking up against the group. Expressing reservations could get you excluded. In our evolutionary past, such banishment guaranteed death. Hence our strong urge to remain in the group's favor. Now, I don't want to go too political, but a perfect example of this is also the churches who have said that you must be vaccinated, otherwise you will be excommunicated. So many interesting things going on at the moment. Maybe we shouldn't go too much deeper into that, but I'm not a group thinker, so I would actually be open to speaking my mind if we need to. Anyhow, the business world is no stranger to groupthink. A classic example is the fate of the world-class airliner Swiss Air. Here, a group of highly paid consultants rallied around the former CEO and, bolstered by the euphoria of past success, developed a high-risk expansion strategy, including the acquisition of several European airlines. The zealous team built up a strong consensus that even rational reservations were suppressed, leading to the airline's collapse in 2001. If you ever find yourself in a tight, unanimous group, you must speak your mind, even if your team does not like it. Question tacit assumptions, even if you risk expulsion from the warm nest. And if you lead a group, appoint someone as devil's advocate. He or he will not be the most popular member of the team, but she or he might be the most important. This happens so many different times where you have a group of people and everybody just follows. So be very aware of this. One more quick story. I remember sitting on a train with a 90-something-year-old, I think she was 96, 97-year-old lady in Holland when I was still studying at university. And she had friends who were Germans. And this was during the late 30s. So Hitler had just come to power. And she told me this story of her friends who had invited her to one of Hitler's rallies. And she said, I didn't really like the man. I didn't like his policies. And people asked me why on earth would I go to something similar to this. She said he was just a politician, though nothing had happened at that point. So there was nothing to say that he was going to be evil or he's going to do evil things. So she went to this rally. And she said, I'm sitting there and I'm disagreeing with everything that he says. And yet everybody's around me standing with a Hitler salute. And all of a sudden I find myself standing up doing a Hitler salute. She says, I had no idea what was going on. And so she learned about this groupthink and how people follow the masses. And if you can get the masses on your side, you can get to do just about anything. So it's important that when you are in a group of people that you still maintain your own autonomy, that you're able to stand up for yourself, that you're able to still express your opinion, regardless of whether everybody else has a different opinion. If you can do that, you're very powerful. If you can't, then there are some challenges that you could face. Okay, so this was groupthink, one of my favorite chapters in this book. Tomorrow, I'm looking forward to reading tomorrow as well. Chapter 26, Why You'll Soon Be Paying Mega Trillions, The Neglect of Probability. That sounds like a very interesting chapter. I'm looking forward to reading that one for you tomorrow. Have an absolutely amazing day. Go out and do whatever makes you happy, and don't worry about what the rest of the group does. So if you are for something or against something, hold on to your own opinion no matter what happens in the world around you. Have a great day. I'm looking forward to doing some reading for you tomorrow, and I'll see you then, I suppose.